This week, a passenger plane collided with a military helicopter near Reagan National Airport. There were no survivors. Reagan National is a small but busy airport used by over 20 million Americans each year. It's the gateway to our capital. In Pennsylvania, a medical transport plane carrying a child patient, her mother, and 4 others crashed shortly after takeoff. There were no survivors, and people on the ground were also killed and severely injured. Air travel is up, and security will always be up after 9/11. Security threats will be with us forever, just as connectivity will have us on planes forever. How can they coexist? What causes planes to crash? Is it pilot error, mechanical failure? Should we be worried? Joining us is former NASA crash investigator Ken Christensen. Welcome. Ken, I assume it's way too early to know what happened with either crash, but what would you be looking for both with the Reagan National crash and the medical transport plane?
Hey, Congressman, it's absolutely too early to speculate on what actually happened, but as with all accidents, what you want to see is, was the plane, and this is for both aircraft accidents, were both aircraft underpowered? Did they have thrust? Did they have electrical power? And were the pilots that were flying them conscious at the time? That's all. Who's flying the airplane, whether that can be figured out by cockpit voice recorders, flight data recorders. If they do not have those installed in those aircraft, those specific aircraft, it can be found out who's flying the airplane post-forensically.
You put your finger on it. Everyone is searching right now for answers, including the President of the United States. Here he is, and I'll ask you about it on the other side.
We'll find out how this disaster occurred, and we'll ensure that nothing like this ever happens again. The FAA and the NTSB and the U.S. military will be carrying out a systematic and comprehensive investigation. We have to have our smartest people. It doesn't matter what they look like, how they speak, who they are. It matters intellect, talent. You can't have regular people doing that job. They won't be able to do it. But we'll restore faith in American air travel.
Can even smart, capable people make mistakes? How much of flying is human action versus relying on technology?
Well, they're both intertwined, Trey. They're both very important. Human factors, training, and then action. So the pilots, the air crew are requiring, excellent maintenance, excellent skills in the air, excellent knowledge of weather, and the excellence of the air traffic controller system. All of those need to work in sync. When one of those fails, whether it's the maintenance, training, not knowing about weather, or air traffic control, then you can have a recipe for disaster. And that was clear. One of those things failed with certainly the DC accident, and on the Pennsylvania accident, we really don't know. It's just speculation at this point, but it doesn't lend itself to air traffic controller error, but it does we're going to look at maintenance on that, and in particularly pilot physiology and human factors.
All right, DC is geographically small, but there's a lot of congestion. So how do you navigate protecting an area that has so many high-value targets, but there's also a lot of congestion in the air?
There is a lot of congestion in the air, specifically at the DC and Reagan National. There's helicopters, multiple helicopters that are transiting that airport on not a daily basis, but an hourly basis. So you have Coast Guard aircraft, Park Police helicopters, presidential helicopters, Army helicopters.
I hate having to have you on to talk about these tragedies, but we are grateful for your expertise and appreciate you joining us.
Okay, thank you, Congressman.